The Apostle Paul used lots of different analogies to try to get his point across. And so when planting the church, he used the very body of an individual to be mindful of how it is that all of us share the love of God in the world. It's not just about one of us, but it's about lots of us coming together to believe and to share in the transformation of the world with the love of God. So today we start with the question, are you all in? All in. In 2012, the New York Giants were facing a big challenge. They were 7-7. Chances were, if they could make this one game, they would be able to make the playoffs. And they had a very interesting evening one night at chapel with a gentleman who preached about being all in. ESPN did a story on it. We're going to start the sermon with this video to talk a little bit about what it means to be all in. So the question today that we're asking each and every one of us gathered here is, are you all in? Are you ready to give your all for something greater than just yourself? Are you ready to be part of a team that can accomplish the impossible with the amazing love of God? Now, you may still not be sold, and you may be asking, well, what does it mean to be all in? Well, the Garden has really already answered that question in some way. The leadership team and many a while ago, even before I arrived a year ago, made the determination that it was time for them to separate from St. Luke's. And with that came particular consequences. I mean, there was the realization, and 87 people now so far have committed, realizing what that commitment means. It means we will be financially responsible for the Garden in a new way and in the Garden Ministries. It means we will be responsible for developing ministry that attracts a lot of different people. And it means that we must commit ourselves to be a progressive, United Methodist Church in the state of Indiana. That, my friends, is challenging. But indeed, with God, all things are possible, because God has something in store for the Garden. So with that in mind, today you may be asking, what am I all in on? We're going to be very specific about what that is. First, our mission and vision statement is found back here on this beautiful banner here. And it says, the Garden Community Church is an open, inclusive, Christ-like community where people from many paths gather to explore, engage, and seek inspiration, sharing in the transformation of the world with the unconditional love of God. The Garden, we're growing in our love for God and our love for one another. Why? Because we believe that perfect love casts out fear. We love boldly. In sharing God's love, we are co-creators in the quest to bring justice, show kindness, and promote unity. The things that we value at the Garden include love, spirituality, social justice, inclusiveness, outreach, and celebration. At the Garden, we encourage the faith quest through sharing in community, lifelong learning, tradition, reason, and experience. So today we gather here and we simply ask the question, what's next? I've pondered this question a lot as your pastor over the past year, and I ponder it quite often when I'm driving in my car. And I think the best way to consider this question for us as a community is to really think about what it's like to drive. I mean, when we drive, we have a general idea of where we're going, right? And we often will look in the rearview mirror to see where we have come from. And that rearview mirror does inform our future somewhat. There are some things that are clear for us as we are stepping into the future. The first is that we had, as of this past week, about 80 people who committed to be members of the Garden. We are clear that Beef and Boards has blessed us for 20 years plus years and continues to bless us by having our ministry right here. The Stark family continues to support us in a variety of ways, and for that we are forever thankful. I agree. Something else that's clear to me as we drive into the future is that a great thing is happening at St. Luke's, is that they're growing, and their staff is growing, and their ministry is growing, and they have invited us to find office space elsewhere starting after the first of the year. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. So I'm heading this way, and I look back to see that we can exist in about 557 square feet. I look back in the rearview mirror, and I say that was okay space. Maybe we could find a little more. Maybe we can find a little less. But I know that God is calling us forth into a new office space. We can handle that. See, life is kind of like that. We do have to look back a little bit to see where we're coming from, but we have to just keep going forward and see where God is calling. Because I do believe, in the words of Rob French, God's got this, and God has something in store for all of us. But the only way that's really going to happen is if we do it together. Last week, we shared that message about the fruits of the Spirit, or what spiritual gifts that you might have. And I have to tell you, I was amazed, first of all, that you listened to me talk here for about 12 minutes. And then sometimes you follow through on some of the suggestions that I make. Remember last week why has God given you life and breath and movement? Why are you here? And a lot of you shared your fruits of your spirit or your talents with me. And it was an amazing week to open up my email and see all of the different gifts that were shared. Here are just some of them. The garden grows here with joy, with love, and patience. We are non-religious people, and we are Christian. We are Muslim, and we are loving. We are unclear, and we are searching. We are spiritual and artistic, creative and kind. We are problem solvers and mathematicians. That's not mine. We are faithful. We are loving, patient, loving, joyful, and generous. So I think that's amazing. I also think it's pretty amazing that we are not, of course, the New York Giants. And friends, this is not just a game. We are people who have been called together by God to function in a way that can transform the world through God's love. And I agree with Ken. All you have to do is look at the news last week and recognize, does the world need the church? Yes. The world needs a church like the garden that isn't committed to a building, but indeed committing to transforming the world with the love of God. And for that, I give God thanks. So today, if you feel like saying, I'm all in, we're going to invite you to come forth and sign on to the mission and vision and value statement here at the garden. All are welcome to sign on to this statement. All are welcome. While we share in this process, members from the garden leadership team will be down here to welcome you after you sign on to the mission for the garden. Now, a reminder of our mission and vision and value statement: the Garden Community Church is open, inclusive, Christ-like community where people from many paths gather to explore, engage, and seek inspiration. Those are important things. Seek inspiration, sharing in the transformation of the world through the love of God. Now, let me go on and say another thing. You do not have to be a member or say that you're claiming membership here. You need to simply say, yeah, I could get on board to a statement like that. Now, one of the reasons we're doing this today is in the United Methodist Church, a church which we have decided to be part of, you have an opportunity for a public profession of faith. And today we're doing that a la garden. Your public profession of faith is simply to come up and sign on. And if you want to be welcomed by the pastors and members of the leadership team, we're right here to welcome you and to shake your hands. That is your public profession of faith. Now, if you're not physically able to come down today and sign on to the banner, that's okay. We'll have the banner in the lobby in the weeks to come. You could just sign it there. If you really want to come down and you're concerned about coming down, no problem, just let us know and we will help you down the steps. If you come here today and you're not really sure you want to be a member of the United Methodist Church, no problem. We are having a membership class on October 23rd at St. Luke's United Methodist Church. I asked the Presbyterians and it didn't work out for them, but that will give you an opportunity to learn more about the Methodist Church and more about what our responsibility is in light of being a United Methodist Church. Friends, today is simply an opportunity to say, I'm all in. I believe that God has called me to explore, to engage, and to seek inspiration. During this process, we are all mindful that we join many in the body of Christ from all over the world. And together we can and we will transform the world with the love of God. All we have to be willing to do is to stand by one another and step forward into the future with faith and love. Again, as I said before, all are welcome. If you wish to participate in this signing on service, great. If you wish to sit right where you are, great. That is no problem at all. If you wish to just simply be present, we have a great video that will remind us indeed that we are all in this together with people from around the world. All we have to do is be willing to stand by one another and commit to sharing the love of God. All are welcome.